And Coker is turning heads in camp. I'm a little bit worried about Terrell McMillan, and just given how early he goes like the tail end of round 3 at times. Bryce Young, gonna need to take a step forward. I mean, at some point here, we can't have year after year after year of him looking bad. Like, at times he looks okay, but he's just not a talent elevator.
103. What's good, y'all? Eliminator.
Kind of like hiding him behind
Robbie going Jamar Chase here.
If that doesn't change this season, and we have a legitimate wide receiver too, and Coker, and Coker's commanding, you know, a meaningful amount of targets, then the path for Tet to become a league winner, become someone who's like a low end 1 for you, which is what you're hoping for at taking him in round 3. The path becomes thin pretty quickly. I don't know if Bryce Young can really support that right now, but he definitely can't support it if he's also supporting Coker at a decent target share. In Chicago, biggest story is who is the top target earner, right? We want to attach ourselves to this offense. It's going to be a very good offense, but you can make a legitimate case that all of Odunze, Burden, and Loveland could lead this team in targets. Whoever wins that job, unless it's like, you know, they're all perfectly even and one of them wins it by 1. Like, if that happens, sure, no one could smash. But the odds are they're going to look at this and view one of these guys as kind of the centerpiece of the offense.
We're going Jamar.
Clearly most targeted player. And whoever that ends up being, they're going to smash in fantasy. And so if we get some sort of indication in camp as to who that is going to be, that's going to be really beneficial. Odunze, the bull case is basically huge pre-draft expectations, decent enough rookie season, very much the mold of a player physically who could hit for a high-end season in fantasy, but the inefficiency. And what he's done these first 2 seasons has been below the expectation we had pre-draft. Does he see that jump or not? Or does Ben Johnson look at Luther Burden and say, I mean, this was one of the more efficient rookie seasons we've seen. It was a super low sample size, but the efficiency was there. And so if we see all these big targets,
right after that.
Rappers, I've been with fucking artists, athletes, I've been everywhere.
It's just your turn, little bro.
Rappers, I've been with fucking artists, athletes, I've been everywhere.
It's just your turn, little bro.
Rappers, I've been with fucking artists, athletes, I've been everywhere.
Actually, all right. Henry Achan, okay. Cook, Jefferson. It's a good start. Jency Barkley is a good start in the Eliminator, I feel. Monroe St. Brown, Kenneth Walker. You see this here. Coming up here. Yeah, this is an easy Brock Bowers click. Yeah, 100%. Now this is an eliminator, so running backs. Definitely gonna need some running backs. Javonte Williams in the second round. I mean, that just tells you all you need to know. Right there. What am I looking for? Strength of schedule. ETN goes Brees Hall, Kyron. Yeah, we'll go Brees as my RB1. Or should I go Josh Allen? I feel like Josh Allen would be a fun-ass start. Josh Allen, Jamar Bowers. Yeah, I'm doing it. Let's do it. Fuck the running back, you know what I'm saying? Let's see what running backs they got 4 and 5. Chase, Bowers, Allen. I like it. Early? Damn. Bengals, okay, not bad. Wouldn't be mad at it. Henry, H. Jacobs, Higgins. That's a good start. That's actually a great start. He's got 3 solid backs. Well, Henry. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Derrick Henry, he just keeps going, you know? But he does have those dud games sometimes. Yeah, Montgomery was kind of the running back I was hoping would come back to me over there, but I guess that's more in Best Ball Mania. Jacobs is a great scoop, 3rd round, like, especially if he doesn't miss time, which we know the NFL notorious for just sweeping those domestic vibes under the rug. Scatabo is another one I was hoping was gonna fall. Swift gone. Yeah, I'm cooked. I am cooked. Or am I? Feel like, okay, and then Judkins goes, that's horrible. Mike Evans. Bucky as my RB1? I don't think so, buddy. Let's go with Evans. Week 6. Okay, good. For a weekly, you have to win each week was damn neighbors. Yeah, no. Have to win each week. Have to win each week. Still no running backs. This is probably not ideal. This is not ideal, actually. Brees Hall and Lamar? Or Josh Allen and... I guess I don't know. If I got a running back there, it would have made sense. But I guess we'll figure out the one for one here. Brees Hall and Lamar or Josh Allen and God knows who. Tony Pollard. I don't know. Okay. Put that up. Can I make this smaller? Just in case. Alright, cool. This is perfect.
He's going to be on the field all the time. He's going to keep this efficiency. Let's be honest, the actual efficiency he had last season is obviously going to come down. But if he keeps being highly efficient, maybe he's someone they want to see more usage to. Or does Ben Johnson view Lovely as just an ultimate mismatch, someone that they're going to design a ton of plays to? I don't know that we're going to have a firm answer, definitely once camps open, but hopefully by mid-late August, we can finally be like, okay, it's Loveland, it's Burden, it's Adunze, it's someone here. And Cincy, honestly, not a whole lot we're trying to figure out. We know what's going to happen, right? No one's challenging Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, or Chase Brown for their roles. Joe Burrow's a great pick in the middle rounds. Like, we just know what's going to happen in Cincy. I do think Eric All is just an interesting name to watch, and to be honest, is someone that you can look to trade for in like a dynasty tight end premium league, taking around 18 or underdog, probably better in around 20.
Dynasty.
I think he's
Tight
going to
end
get a larger
premium
role than
league.
expected.
Come on, bro.
Because they really like what he can do for the ground game, and I think that's probably the bigger thing. For Chase Brown to hit his ceiling, we would like the rushing to be a little bit more efficient, and for everyone in this offense to be, have a higher end ceiling. For the offense as a whole to score more points, we would like them to just be more productive on the ground, be more threatening to teams on the ground. And Mike Gesicki's not a blocking tight end, so they haven't really, the line's been bad, the tight ends haven't blocked. If Eric All is as good as they're saying he is, and they can get some really good production there, does that increase the efficiency of running backs?
Burrow.
Does that really help the ceiling for Chase Brown? Does that elevate
Man,
the defense as a whole? And
this
everyone
is
benefits.
ugly, boys.
So more important than I think you would think Eric All is, but at the end of the day, again, we know how this offense is going to operate. For the Browns, obviously we are watching the quarterback battle here, but just like Atlanta, who cares? I mean, truly, whoever wins that job is not going to be good. They're not going to be sitting there and be like, man, Shedeur Sanders is the next Tom Brady. Like, Shadeur's bad, Deshaun Watson's bad. It's going to be bad quarterback play in Cleveland. I'd say the biggest thing we care about in
we're gonna go
fantasy
J.K.
is what are their 2 and 3 wide receiver sets going to look like here? Does Jerry Jeudy have a role?
Rico
Is it
Dowdle?
only in 11 personnel, or does he earn his spot into 2 wide receiver sets? Do they use Concepcion and Boston as those top 2 wide receivers from
We're gonna take
jump,
J.K.
or does it seem like
Key part
that's
of
gonna take more
crowded
time to
backfield.
develop?
Love to see
I
that.
can't say that the fantasy impact here is going
Sharing
to be
backfield
massive,
more.
but if we do get Concepcion out there for like 90% of plays starting in week 1, I think he'd be really
J.K.
useful in
Dobbins,
fantasy. But if
RB1.
Judy's going to be out there
Let's
2 wide
do it.
receiver sets, that is going to be unfortunate. So just kind of figuring out the wide receiver rotation over there. In Dallas, I think the biggest storyline here is with the running backs. Javonte is obviously the starter. He's locked into a ton of carries, a ton of touchdowns. Really good pick in round 3. But is he a must-draft player, or is he just a really good pick, or a more mediocre pick? I think it's still going to kind of vary a little bit here. Basically, I think Jaden Blue is probably the most important one. Does Jaden Blue finally step up, be used as a change of pace back, be used as a
if I have
pass
to win
catcher?
every week.
That would obviously eat into the workload of Javonte Williams. Does Phil Maffa earn the
Fuck
direct
that,
backup role
dude.
behind
Give me
Javonte and
Hurts.
maybe get a few touches each week in order to keep Javonte
Give me Hurts as
healthy,
and I'm locked in
or
at
do
QB.
both of them
I'm
have
locked in at
highly
QB.
mediocre camps? And we have Javonte Williams as a league winner in round 3. My gut says it's going to play out a lot like last season, but just a little bit more work for Blue. And of course, Maffa had no work last season, so any work would be a little bit more work for him.
Sick of paying for hours you aren't
This
even
is
sure your
an
team actually
interesting
worked? So
team.
this little sticker tag from Connect Team is going to save you tens of thousands of dollars a year. No more expensive hardware, no.
I think that's what they want. I think the team wants Blue to step it up and just to keep Javonte fresh and healthy. Again, he's going to have a ton of carries, a ton of touchdowns. He's going to be a good pick. But I think the team wants to take a little bit off of his workload, add some explosiveness, add some passing down elements, just add in another running back so where, if you wear down Javonte Williams and he gets hurt, your offense tanks if you don't trust the other running backs. So I think they want him to step up. I just think maybe they tell him don't show up the Louis Vuitton cleats anymore. But yeah, watch the split there. Watch the news on Martha and Jaden. In Denver, we have similar questions, honestly. Like, what the heck is this running back room going to look like as things stand right now? I'm expecting Dobbins to be the lead back. I would say clearly the lead back on early downs. For R.J. Harvey to mix in on early downs, but more of that change of pace back, a little bit on passing downs, definitely a red zone weapon or a scheme usage player for some big plays. But then what about Jonah Coleman? They seem to really like him in the receiving game. He's got the size to be a red zone weapon as well. So figuring out this split's going to be really important because none of these guys are cheap. So it's not a situation where it's like they got 3 guys, no one knows what to do, and the ADPs are really late. The market is drafting them pretty aggressively. Harvey's going around that 7-8 turn, Dobbins at the 8-9 turn, Coleman around 14, and you might look at that and be like, okay, those aren't like crazy price tags, but I have to over-project this backfield, and even do it, and basically that means like I'm giving them more than 100% of the volume to the whole backfield. I have to do that to still be behind ADP on Harvey, behind ADP on Jonah Coleman, and to basically match ADP on Dobbins. Like, people are being really aggressive, and basically the market is telling us they expect 1 or 2 of these backs to have really high-end usage and to be very fantasy relevant. They just don't know who it is. Personally, the only one I'm drafting, as you could probably tell from what I just said, is Dobbins. If I overproject the backfield, he's still the only one I can get to a reasonable price tag. I really think people are way too overweight on Harvey, and propping up Coleman a little bit more than you should as a third running back on a team. But camp will tell us a lot. Like, if they truly are going to use Coleman as that passing down back and occasionally mix in at the goal line for some design plays and things like that, I don't see how you could possibly draft R.J. Harvey, because it is very obvious the team loves J.K. Dobbins, and he will be the lead on early downs. Maybe that changes in camp, but that's how I'm doing things right now. And so I definitely am not drafting Harvey right now, but especially if Coleman, if people really think he's going to be used, how do you draft Harvey at the 100%? For the Lions, I think the biggest story is, what is the role of Pacheco, right? Obviously, he's not David Montgomery, but is he 70, 80, 90% Montgomery? Like, what is the role going to be there? Sure, we want to know,
if I can get this one other guy,
going to be not only from his perspective, from James' perspective as well. If Tesla gets more usage, I really think that could impact Jameson Williams. He is someone I'm starting to back off of a little bit. But we really need to figure out how big the role is for Pacheco, because, I mean, listen, their other running backs are not that good. If he's someone that is occasionally
Brickhouse, you don't need this guy.
Occasionally get drives
Let's
to himself,
go.
is the direct backup to
Kenneth
Gibbs, having
Gainwell.
huge contingent upside, then he's a phenomenal
Love to
pick.
fucking see
going
it,
near
man.
the running back 50. But
Gainwell
if
and
they're
White.
like, no, this kid is
What a
clearly
dream.
worse than David Montgomery. If they say it's going to be still a committee if Gibbs gets hurt, if Pacheco's not going to get drives on his own, and really is just Gibbs is a featured running back, clear league winner, clear 101. Well, then, okay, maybe not as good of a pick for Pacheco, because he's basically just sitting on your bench to eventually, if there's an injury.
All right.
still be
That was nice. That was great. That was
But
a
if
great
we
turn
have
for
that
me.
contingent upside, and he's
Gainwell and
mixing
Rashad
a
White.
little bit for base work each week, then he's got a lot of upside.
Now-
He'll be someone we really want to draft late. But right now, it's kind of all just projection based for
Let's
Isaiah
see what
Pacheco.
happens.
We really don't know what the role is going to be quite yet. In Green Bay, basically,
down
is
to
Josh
two
Jacobs
tight ends
getting
with these
suspended?
last
And
two
is it
picks.
2, 4, 6, 8 games? I don't know what's going to
You don't
happen.
have Bowers.
We for sure want to confirm that. I have not been drafting him right now because the risk just seems a little bit too high. I mean, he's going the late third round. Even if he wasn't going to miss any time, he's not a slam dunk pick in the late third round. And truly, I feel like he's going to be suspended. I don't see how we can see all the news around what happened and be like, oh yeah, the league's not going to care at all about this. Even if nothing ends up happening, like, legally in terms of outside the NFL can still absolutely go out there and be like, this is contact detrimental to the team, to the league. You need to be suspended for 6, 8 games. So I don't draft him right now, but it'd be lovely to hear some news as far as that's concerned. But to go along with this, who is the direct backup? I mean,
Who is the direct backup?
cover your ears, but Marshawn Lloyd apparently looks great in camp if he can stay healthy. Probably the biggest if of any player ever in fantasy. But if he can stay healthy, he seems like the guy to roster right now. Obviously, if you had him staying healthy as that lead guy, and you had Jacobs missing 6-8 weeks this season, I mean, my goodness, like you'd have someone you're starting every week at running back 2. I've said that before. And that if turned out to be, nope, he can't stay healthy. But we'll see. Again, track who the backup is, track Marshawn Lloyd's health, and track, obviously, the suspension risk.
Ja'Cory Krosky, man.
The Texans can't. I want to know the status of Tank Dell. I mean, he suffered an absolutely brutal injury in 2024.
Yeah, I think
It'll
I'm
be
good.
over 20 months, though, to recover for week
Yeah, we're
1.
locking
He's been posting videos on social media showing his recovery. He called someone out on Instagram for suggesting that, Higgins and Knoll are the clear 2 entering this offense. But I truly have no idea how healthy he's going to be this season. He goes as a wide receiver 78. The camps open up.
Still
and
only have
he's
3
out there in
receivers,
wide
though.
receiver sets, and he looks half decent. He looked explosive. You better believe
Not
his ADP is going to
ideal.
skyrocket. I'm honestly just really interested to see how healthy does he look, because if he is actually going to earn a role in this team, rotate in and out of that 2-3 spot, he's got upside. He was a player that was super exciting as a rookie, fell off a little bit and then got hurt, but the player is still there. It's just with a knee injury that he just suffered, is it even possible for him to get back
It's like
to
Golden
what he
here.
once was? Colts camp. We need to know if Josh Downs can be in 2 wide receiver sets. That is easily the biggest news in Colts camp. They're going to talk about limiting Jonathan Taylor. They don't have a backup they trust enough. Jonathan Taylor's going to get 1 billion touches this season. The news that we care about is, will Josh Downs be in 2 wide receiver sets, and will they go after Diggs? Will they go after Keenan? Will they go after Deebo Samuel? Or will they stick with the current offense? If they stick with their current offense, I see no possibility that Downs is not out there. Too many negatives there. Downs will be out there in 2 wide receiver sets if they roll with their current wide receiver. They just do not have enough talent to put him on the bench for these backups. But if they went after someone like Diggs or Deebo or Keenan, there is a possibility that he does see himself still in this thing where he's only a slot receiver, he's rarely mixing in the outside, and that's going to cap his upside. It'll make him fine at his ADP, but not someone you're reliably trusting, especially in a redraft league. But he will be a must-draft player if we can confirm that he's out there in 2 wide receiver sets and his ADP doesn't skyrocket. So absolutely something I'll be watching very, very closely. He's a very talented player. I think he absolutely can do well on the outside. And if you combine that with the unknown still of Alec Pierce, can Alec Pierce grow into that role on the outside? He was great last season, but can he be a number 1? Will he be the same coming off this foot surgery? We just don't know. So many unknowns there. No backup wide receivers of any talent. There's a lot of upside for Josh Downs this season. But will they let him play on the outside? I don't know yet. In Jaguars camp, there are really multiple things that are all massively important. First, is in the clear lead back, or with basically like C-Rod getting only a couple carries on early downs, Quinn Allen being purely is it the 2-minute drill? And those are very complementary roles, and it's Tune getting 17 plus touches every week. That would be amazing. That would make him a smash at his ADP in the middle rounds. But there's also a scenario here where C-Rod mixes in a decent amount for meaningful work in a committee where Quinn Allen is actually used on just regular passing downs, not only in a 2-minute drill. And if that happens, now we have a 3 running back committee. Now we have Tune losing valuable passing down role, losing potential goal line touches, and it's not great. The other thing we need to watch is, we know Brian Thomas Jr. is locked into the X role on the outside. He's going to be out there basically every week. But we don't really know what's going to happen with these other 3 wide receivers. They have 4 legitimate NFL caliber wide receivers, 4 wide receivers that could start on the vast majority of teams. But what are the roles going to be? Is Washington the clear number 2? With Myers and Travis Hunter mixing in and out? Is it much more of an even split? Does Travis Hunter prove to be too good to keep on the sidelines? I really just don't know what's going to happen, and you better believe that beat reporters are not only watching this closely, but these are going to be the first questions they're asking coaches. So listen to Coach Speak Index. watch beat reports because this question is going to be asked.
And look at all these
What does this
wide
wide
receiver.
receiver
I mean,
look
not
like?
wide receiver,
How
right?
much is Travis
running
Hunter
backs.
going to
I
play
mean,
on both sides?
quarterbacks
Parker
going
Washington
off.
looked best last season. He looked the best wide receiver on your team. Is he going to be the most
Keith
targeted,
Mitchell,
or are we going back to
welcome.
Brian Thomas Jr.? Like, so many questions for this wide receiver room, and they're all going to have huge impacts on their ADPs because it's a great offense. Why do we want to know this offense in particular? There's going to be a ton of yards, a ton of touchdowns. We got to figure out this wide receiver running back room because there are a lot of unknowns, just given the departure of Travis Etienne, the unknown talent of Bajal Tutin, the weird huge rookie season, and then huge dud from Brian Thomas Jr., and then just all of the wide receivers in this room. Like, it's a very unique situation. We got to figure out. I'll say this, though. Contingent upside remains on this offense. Even if they say it's going to be a huge rotation at wide receiver, all right, but if one injury happens, you've got 3 locked-in wide receivers on an awesome offense, and they're all going to outperform their ADP. So every single one of these wide receivers has big contingent upside. It's on a regular basis with no injury, what are the roles looking like? In Kansas City, I want to know the role of Worthy. So on the one hand,
7-3.
been a huge disappointment since he was drafted, was legit unusable at times, both seasons really. Like, there's never really been a stretch where you've had Xavier Worthy just
2-7.
locked into your starting lineup, unless you're in like a
8-2.
14-team league with multiple flex spots or 3 wide receivers, and he's kind of on the fringes there for you. On the other hand, it was pretty widely reported that he was going to be featured to start last season, and I do believe it because of what happened to Hollywood. Like, you had that first game, and after the game, they're like, yeah, we really wanted to just feature Xavier Worthy, but he gets hurt in the first play of the game, had to go to Hollywood. Hollywood had 16 targets. Hollywood Brown does not get 16 targets. That is never, ever going to be part of the game plan. That is twice as many as he had the rest of the season. We know that Worthy was going to be featured to start last season while Rice was out. I don't know, though,
Week 13.
like,
bye.
how
I
good
could
he
low
would've
key
been.
just
Like, he would have been featured, but, like, obviously Hollywood
have
was featured,
Bowers.
and he had 16 targets.
Solo.
He turned it less than 100 yards.
Week 13,
Like, would Worthy
fuck
have
it.
also
Roll
been
the
that
dice.
efficient? Would that have continued
that bye.
when Rice was back?
Week 13.
Did the injury prevent him later in the season
Should
breaking
be
out, or did the injury
making
not
some
have that much of an
significant money.
impact, and he really just is not that good?
Anyways.
There's upside here, though. So, like, we need to kind of know the answer to these questions because
So that kind of stirs
if
me
you
away
buy
from
into
going
some
3
degree that
because
the
this guy,
injury
it's already
was
week
the cause for the
13.
downturn in production last year.
You know?
We've got a 37-year-old Travis Kelce,
Especially if I get-
Rashee Rice being super inefficient. Anything that's not like a sub 10
One of
yard
these
zone
guys
beater,
are here.
like he's great against zone in the short area of the field. He is not someone that's going to beat you downfield. He's not someone that's going to go out there and win against man coverage. So if you feel like Worthy can be that player that can beat man coverage, be that field stretcher, he has a lot of upside for how late he does go in drafts. So I just want to like listen to reports, see if there's any sort of info we can glean off the expected split between Worthy and Rice. Personally, I don't really draft this offense that much right now. I'm not huge into Rice this season. I think Worthy probably was hurt last year, and that's probably why the downturn. But I still don't think he's going to have that high end of production. And we do still have, Patrick Mahomes coming off a torn ACL. Even he is not someone to draft that much because mobility will be down, and they're just not going to have him run as much. Ken Walker though, I'll draft Ken Walker plan. In Raiders camp, truly just not much that's going to move the needle. I mean, sure, we want to know what the wide receiver rotation is going to look like, but for redraft leagues, I don't know if you're drafting any of them. I suppose if it came out that Trey Tucker looks fantastic, that he's clearly their number one wide receiver, sure, take a stab on him in the final round of a redraft league. But my gut says Tucker and Naylor will be the top 2. Beck is going to only play in 11 personnel. Should get that answer in camp, but who really cares? It's Genty, it's Bowers, and it's no one else on this offense. In Chargers camp, we need to figure out the running back split. Like, is Hampton going to be close to featured? Is this going to be much more of a split than the public is expecting? And also, like, is it only Hampton and Keaton? Because that's what we talked about, right? It's like, the risk with Amari Hampton is that they really like Keaton Mitchell. If he mixes in for like 8 to 10 touches a game, that still caps the upside somewhat of what Amari Hampton can do. But if Vidal also mixes in and he takes some passing down work away, then that really, really hurts. Because if you still have Keaton mixing in, you also lose work to Vidal. It's like, Hampton probably can't surpass his ADP on 14 to 16 touches a game. He's going to need to go past like 17 touches a game if you're going to, have him viable in the early second round. So what happens here? I think all these possibilities still exist, and I still want to be overweight on the Chargers because I think the market is really under projecting how many touchdowns they're going to score, and so everyone has that league-winning upside if volume does flow their way. But the split here really, really matters given how early we're taking Amari Hampton. I think regardless, he is a round 2 pick, but if he goes in the early second round and we're expecting a pretty big split and potentially a 3 running back split, that's a little tough. But if it kind of opens up and they're like, man, is this guy good? We want to feed him the football. Vidal is kind of an afterthought. And, Keaton Mitchell's going to mix in for some efficient touches, but it's only really going to be Hampton. Whew, the upside from Aaron Hampton is awesome. So definitely a very important one. I'll say I still like my ranking right now. Saquon, Ken Walker, Chase Brown, then Hampton. I think that's how we have it as the round 2 running backs. For the Rams, I would say that 2 things are really important. First is the obvious. Kyron Williams, Blake Corn, what's the split? The early reporting says they're heading for a 50-50 split on early downs, with Kyron still getting more goal line work and more work on passing downs. But, as we know, the passing down doesn't matter as much because the Rams throw the running backs less than any team. The thing is, they can say, more work in the goal line as well for Kyron, and people can say this in their mind. But last season, it really just flowed to the carries. It was drive specific, and it was who's on the field. If you look at the split on early downs, the split in carries, and the split at the goal line, they're even. So it's basically if Corum gets 30% of the work, it's going to get 30% of goal line opportunities. If he gets half the work, you get half the goal line opportunities. So if we get a 50-50 split and they split goal line and they don't throw to running backs, that is going to hurt the value of Kyron. But if all of this is overblown, if they still love Kyron Williams, if it's still closer to like a 65-35 split, well then Kyron's going to be a really good pick in round 3. Second thing we need to watch is how do they use Terrence Ferguson? They have 1 million tight ends and 2 good wide receivers. They can hype up their other wide receivers all they want. They have 2 good wide receivers, and one of them is, 34 years old for Adams? Something like that. He's 33 or 34 years old. So easily a chance that Adams drops off.
Please stop fucking
easily
calling.
A chance that Puka is really the only one they can rely on
Holy shit, dude.
on a game-to-game basis. And you have 1 million tight ends. So do they just treat Terrence Ferguson as effectively their 3rd wide receiver, someone who's also highly efficient downfield, horrible catch rate last year. So you had like 21 yards per reception, something stupid like that, but like also a 44% catch rate. It was 11 catches, so let's not like bag on him too much. Does he stay in this role of like field stretcher? Do they bring it down a little bit to say, okay, you get a little bit more work in the intermediate area of the fields, maybe some screen passes, and you, again, effectively are our number 3 wide receiver who has red zone usage on, again, a very, very good offense, dome games. Like, this team is going to score a ton of touchdowns. And if he's their 3rd wide receiver with red zone usage, and he goes in round like 17 on underdog, completely undrafted redraft leagues, especially for those of you in like tight end premium leagues, there's a lot of upside for Terrence Ferguson, but he could also not have that role, right? They could also just keep rotating all their tight ends a ton. They could have him have 15 receptions on another 50% catch rate, and you're just never using him. So a highly volatile player, but I'll be pretty excited if it seems like in camp the role is there. In Miami, I'm not really sure we want to be drafting any of these guys, but I'm at least interested to see how far along Chris Bell is in his recovery. This is easily the worst wide receiver room I've ever seen in my life, and so not exactly going to be difficult once Chris Bell is actually healthy for him, honestly, to be their number 1 wide receiver, but at minimum to get onto the field as much as he can handle. But I don't know when that's going to be. Is it going to be after a month? Is it going to be only the second half of the season? Are they going to be super cautious and basically not play him at all this year? All super possible. We've legit heard nothing about his recovery, so I'm just interested to see where he's at. Vikings camp. I would say it's 2 things. First, we need to confirm that Kyler is a starting quarterback. I very much hope we can confirm that very early. And then second, basically confirm that Jordan Mason is that lead back, with Aaron Jones being more of a change of pace back this season. I feel pretty good about both of them being true, but given where we're going to have to end up drafting both of them, I'd like to be more confident. I think Kyler's going to rise in ADP. I think Jordan Mason's going to rise in ADP. If we get more reports where it's like, hey, it's not necessarily
See,
Kyler
notice.
McCarthy still looks decent, he's pushing him, it's over. Like,
Because of
I
the
trust
ADP
Kyler if he wins that job in week 1, or obviously in week 1, but like week 1 of camp.
Yeah, I
almost.
gotta-
Like,
I gotta
if
take
early in camp it's like Kyler's getting work with the ones, Kyler's the starter, the offense is around Kyler. Okay, if it's actually a battle, McCarthy showed last season he is just not that good, and if it's a battle, we lose confidence. Kyler's a starter, and thus lose confidence in the offense as a whole. And that flows over to Jordan Mason, because Mason at times last season was like someone they had to get the ball to more. It was just that the offense was worse than expected. But if Kyler can elevate this offense and they can be good, they can be winning more games, have more positive game scripts, and they still have this great defense, that's all really, really positive for Jordan Mason as well, even if you don't necessarily think it matters for him because he's not going to catch passes. Elevating the offense helps Mason. If Kyler is clearly the starter when this camp's open, that's going to help us out. For the Patriots, we need to see if Henderson looks better. Like, basically, did Travion Henderson improve in pass protection, improve his vision this offseason? He was great in pass protection in college. I mean, we were talking about him as a top 2 pass protector in the draft class, and then all of a sudden he goes out there, and he really struggled in blitz pickup. It got him benched. Like, he was so bad at pass protection that he was benched last season.
All right.
He was supposed to also be this passing
we
down
back
back
tonight,
to the
guys, with
Patriots,
another
supposed to be
Eliminator.
really explosive on the
Appreciate
ground,
y'all.
but they didn't trust him, so they couldn't put him out there in pass protection. He was not getting
And
what
I'll
was
see y'all
blocked
in the
for him. He was
next.
very much a